welcome to this episode of the Manistee Local Podcast. On this episode, I speak with Cassandra and Sabrina from the Manistee Friendship Society. What an amazing couple of human beings that dedicate their time to helping humans in our community that are struggling with mental illness. From a place of ignorance, I honestly thought that the Friendship Society was a place for our homeless community to have a roof over their head for a handful of hours in a day, and how completely wrong I was about that. If you listen to my conversation I had with Karen Goodman, I hope that you get the sense that I'm just trying to find as much information as I can about the organizations and groups in our community that are out to help a segment of our community that is struggling with mental illness and homelessness. And what I'm finding is that there is so much out there. There are so many really good, really amazing human beings that are dedicating their time to help us fellow travelers navigate life. And this has really been something that's been soaking up the data lately. And like I've said before, with podcasts like this, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can so that I can find ways to help as much as I can. So, I'm sure that I sound pretty ignorant at times during this podcast, and but that's because I'm coming into it with as much honesty as I possibly can so that I can course correct and do the right things and find ways to help. And I hope that the information that's provided in this podcast kind of moves you in that direction. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoy my chat with Cassandra and Sabrina. This episode is brought to you by the Ramsdale Regional Center for the Arts. You can find them online at www.ramsdaletheater.org, or you can reach them by phone at 231-398-9770. So check the website for the ticketing information. That's www.ramsdaletheater.org. This episode is brought to you by the Outsider of Manistee. We're showcasing their family tavern, their beer garden, and their arcade. Their large outdoor patio. This place is really awesome. It's very focused on family, getting people outside, getting them to tour the city of Manistee, showcasing our social district with their newly added indoor bar, which is awesome. They have 6 drafts, over 100 canned beers and canned cocktails to choose from on the menu. This is a really awesome place for the family. You got to mess the kids, fill their pockets full of quarters, let them have at those pinball machines. Mom, Dad, enjoy a nice cold draft beer or a canned cocktail. Get yourself something to eat, feed the family, feed the kids, wake up that liver a little bit, and then go enjoy downtown Manistee. These guys are located at 457 River Street. You can find them on outsidermanistee.com. Call them at 231-299-1235. or order for pickup and delivery at orderoutsider.com. Check this place out. You won't regret it. Well, thanks for coming on. We're kind of on this weird little mission lately to talk about homeless and like some of the drug addiction stuff that we're seeing around the community, or at least that I am. I mean, I've been here my whole life. I was telling Karen when she was on the other day that with a small little detour when I went into the military, I've been here for 45 years, and I can remember the one homeless person that we had when I was growing up.
That now, you've seen.
Yeah.
Right,
well,
that you've
seen. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. But for sure, one. Yeah. And now it seems like, I don't even want to know, hundreds?
Yeah.
It seems out of control.
Yeah, there's a huge housing crisis happening, so there's a lot. And you don't really, a lot of people who are homeless, you don't really expect that person to be homeless. You're thinking like, oh, later they're just going home, right? No, they're not. They're trying to find somewhere else to sleep or somewhere to go to stay out. But Yeah, they're everywhere. They do try to hide because they can't sleep anywhere without the police telling them, well, you can't sleep here, you have to leave. So yes, they do hide. They have to in order to survive, honestly. So
That's interesting.
yeah.
That's interesting. We'll talk about that here in a second. Why don't we just take a real quick couple of seconds to tell everybody who's listening or watching who you are and where you're from.
So I'm Cassandra with the Manistee Friendship Society, and I started there in 2007 and kind of just grew with the center. And I live here in Manistee. I have a family, 2 boys, and yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, she's our executive director. She brought me on in late 2020. So during COVID was interesting to kind of start a new job working from home and trying to meet people over the phone, and getting to know them that way was very interesting. But I'm originally from the Flint area. I moved here about 13 years ago with my husband, Nate Markham, and our 2 kids. So we love it here, and we wouldn't want to live anywhere else, honestly. So
what is the Friendship Society?
The Friendship Society is a mental health drop-in center. We get the majority of our funding through our local community mental health central wellness network, just to be that extra support in the community for adults with a primary disability of a psychiatric illness. So if they're struggling with depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD, whatever it may be, we're here to support them where they're at in their recovery. And that could be through if they would like to take classes. We have classes tailored towards our whole health. So that's depression and anxiety, healthy food, anger management, addiction support, because that all can affect our mental health, and learning those skills and tools to be able to kind of overcome those things or get through those things can be really helpful. And knowing you're not alone is one of the huge things at our center too, that like to work at our center, you had to have dealt with mental illness in your life. So like I struggled with anxiety my whole life. Just so you can have an understanding of what the people we serve are going through. We kind of just learn and grow together and help out where we can in the community.
So is there a plan for an individual that comes there? When you say drop in,
You just drop in.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Whatever your need is in that moment, if you need to talk to someone to get peer support, if you need help navigating community resources to get the help that you need, if you need help with housing applications or job applications, if you just need that listening ear, if you need just support wherever you're at. We also have like our free laundry day and free haircut day, because we know a little self-care can go a long way. And sometimes our members, the majority of them are low income, so some of those things are hard to fit into their budgets if they even
So it's
have
not
them.
just people that don't have a place to live.
Oh, it is
So
for
expand
all
on
walks
that.
of
So,
life.
like-
Cassandra and I are members. Everyone who comes, we have members who are lawyers. We have members who are other peer supports. We have members like my husband, Nate Markham, is a member. It just, if you're ever struggling with or have ever struggled with depression, anxiety, PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, these are all things that, or addiction, come in and we can help you. We will find things for you to support you, because I've been there, she's been there, and everybody there has been there. So it's all peer-led, and we all learn from each other. And we try with our free haircut day, free laundry day, our on-site food pantry, we try to cover those basic needs for people so that they can focus on, it's pretty much a luxury these days to be able to focus on your mental health, because we're so worried about how am I going to eat? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to get a job? So if we can help kind of alleviate some of that stress so that they can focus more on their mental well-being, then that's great. Because I know when I'm fed, I can be like, okay, no, why am I anxious? What can I do to fix it? When I'm hungry, all I'm caring about is I'm hungry. So helping people out with those very basic needs that most people don't even really think about. I mean, we've had a member who was homeless for a very long time, and he finally got into housing, and one of the things he said was that he was very excited to go and get ice cream out of the freezer in the middle of the night. And I just thought, wow, that's something I wouldn't even think about, like that little happiness in the middle of the night that he hadn't had for years because he hasn't had a freezer or a place to put his ice cream. So just things like that I can help him with, that is like really great. So
for years he was
Homeless here.
Now,
About 8 years.
What does housing look like for him now?
For now, he's in a great apartment.
His own apartment.
Yep.
Yeah. But he was under the bridge, in the bushes, that kind of homeless for many years.
Now, for 8 years homeless here in Manistee?
In
Yes.
Manistee,
Okay.
yes.
What was the process to get him into housing?
We have, we work with the
Let me say this real quick.
NMCAA.
So before you do that, he was homeless for 8 years.
Chronically homeless.
Now, was that because of struggles that he was having mentally with anxiety, with the things that you kind of lay out here,
Life
or
circumstances.
Yes.
okay, so like there is a path to housing here, correct? I mean,
Yes.
I'm
There's-
learning with you,
Yes.
with you
There's
guys right
housing.
now.
Available,
There
yes.
is. It's just
Okay.
a huge struggle. Like when you're homeless, how
This is what I want.
they want you to, like, oh, well, call us. And, well, I'm homeless. I don't have a phone. Okay, well, you're going to wait for us to leave you a message. Well, I don't have a phone for you to leave me a message. Okay, well, I'll send it to you in the mail. I don't have an address. I don't have my ID. I don't have a birth certificate. I don't have these things to identify myself. So now I got to go through and figure out how I'm going to get all of these things with very little resources. And how am I going to do that so that I can get into housing?
And that's how we can help.
Right.
By-
So, right.
yes. Working with other community organizations like the NMCAA, Echo His Love, all those other places that do help with homeless. As we surround someone, I think it's really important for them to have a support system where we can surround them with goodness and help lift them up. If we can all work together, we can provide that phone during the day. We can provide our P.O. box so they can get their birth certificate sent or their ID or whatever. So if we could be that little stepping stone to help them get those needs to be able to move forward with something as basic as housing,
Yeah.
everyone should have a safe place to lay their head.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a human right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them come in, and it's, like the older community, especially older women, which is, terrible. And they're, thinking, I would have never thought I'd be homeless. I was married with my husband. I was a stay-at-home mom, and now he's gone, so I don't have this work history. I don't have experience. I don't know what to do, and they're just at a loss as to what to do. So they find themselves in these situations that they never really thought they would have been in. And so trying to help them navigate that too, and letting them know, like, you're not the only one. It's okay. There's no shame that you have to come in and use our food pantry,
Yeah.
It's for everyone who needs
Yeah.
food.
Of our membership.
Yes, members.
So, Cassandra, you said there is housing available.
I said if there's housing
Oh,
available.
if there's housing
Sometimes
available.
it's hard, but
All right,
yes.
so then what do we do if there's no housing available, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got all these people that are sharing your space, which is not 24 hours a day,
No.
right? I think I read somewhere it was 23 hours or something like that.
No, it's Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 3 are open hours, and then before and after that we do one-on-one peer support if needed.
Okay. And are you in contact with those that don't have a place to go after they leave the Friendship Society for the day?
We
do you
try to have a
kinda know
plan
where
with
they're at?
them
We try to, make
so
a
they
plan.
can know, a safe place to go after that. I know Echo is Love has a tent program, which is great, but sometimes it's hard for them to. We have a basic needs fund, so we had a member that couldn't find any free spot to camp. Nothing was available, so I was working with one of the case managers through Central Wellness, and we were able to take funds out of our basic needs programming, and she was able to get him to a campsite, and we paid for that for 2 weeks until he got into his housing. I know that is not ideal at all to be in a tent. It could be probably very scary by yourself.
Yeah.
But that is what our community has right now.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What about jobs?
A lot of them, like we've had, it's amazing to me, honestly, when you do see the group of homeless and one of them will get a job, right? And they don't have a car. to get there. And dial-a-ride doesn't really last until, after 5. So we've had members who've gotten jobs at the casino in the middle of the winter, and they will walk from the casino after work all the way to Echo to go stay at the shelter for the night, just to get up and walk all the way back. And just to see how badly they're working for it and how they want it, it's like, oh my gosh, someone just let him stay in their house, like give him a nice bed. He deserves it after that. So it's hard to watch. It's, you want to take everyone in, and you can't. So yeah, it's very hard to watch.
Yeah.
Now, do you have programs to help them get jobs?
We try to help, people will bring in their resumes, and we'll kind of go over that and help them with that. Or we've done mock interviews before with people where, because a lot of people have anxiety about going in for an interview. So it's like, well, we'll just pretend we're doing an interview here right now and get you ready.
We do a lot of referrals to Michigan Works as well on River Street. So they have been a big support with our members as well with their programming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, I'm coming from a place of privilege, right? So when I'm trying to wrap my head around this, I'm like, how can we get from, however you got homeless, how can we get you working in a home?
Right.
Like putting all these pieces together. It's like everybody's got like well intentions, but sometimes I feel like all the pieces don't connect. Does that make sense?
There's a lot of barriers.
Well, and there's a lot of groups and committees and government agencies, and sometimes I feel like that's more of a hindrance than, you know what I mean? Bringing it all together.
They all we actually, with Central Wellness, we've actually gotten to where we are really connected with all the other resources in here. Mm-hmm. And so when we need something, we call them up and we say, hey, we have this person and they might need this. What do you think? Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and call this person. They might have something for you. So we are really trying to connect here. It's just we need more of, I think we may need some more community support, more people out there, and actually without judgment. I think people are so judgmental.
Or scared.
Scared, or they have the wrong idea, that, oh, they're homeless, so they're dangerous, stay away, or, and they're just like you and I. They just want you to say, hi, how are you, I would love for someone to say, when I was down on my luck, hey, can I help you? Are you okay? And I feel like if more people did that, they might actually see the homeless and how to help them. There's also that great thing, the helplink.org that they just started.
Oh, yes.
What is this?
Helplink.org, you post a need and people in the community can go and donate to it or say, oh, I've got that, I've got you. It's kind of like a spark in the dark, which is very helpful too.
Yeah.
Spark in the dark.
What's that?
It's a Facebook group where you can go on and post your need, like Sabrina was saying, and then community members are just on there and able to try to fulfill those needs for you. If it's a bag of groceries, if it's, I seen something about work pants the other day.
Right. Or
shoes,
gas money to get my first day of the job
or even
until
a
I
ride.
can get paid. Yeah.
But the helplink.org is for specific things. I think I might be saying this wrong, but the Abigail that helped do Spark in the Dark, she founded the helplink.org and wanted to expand off Spark in the Dark. And I'm so sorry if I got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that that's right.
I think you are right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the most part, a lot of people I can't speak for everybody. I spend the majority of my time downtown or at home, right? But when it's very evident that I see somebody that is homeless, the ones that I see, right, because I don't see them all, they definitely have an appearance of they're a little lost mentally. Like the ones that I've encountered, I just don't.
I mean, if you're homeless, how good is your mindset really going to be?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So-
And I'm not trying to tiptoe around it, but I'm also trying to be sensitive to the thing. So we had a gentleman that was just staring in the space out here for days and days.
Yeah.
And he was sleeping on the sidewalk during the day. I mean, I know you know who I'm talking about. And as it was like I had one of these moments where I saw like the like the Mormon kids walking my way, right? And I'm walking towards them, and he's standing there in between us. And it was like, I said this to Karen the other day when she was here. I felt like I was a character in the Hunger Games. You know what I mean? It was like the most surreal moment where these guys want to talk about Jesus. This guy doesn't know what's going on, and I'm coming right into it like, what universe am I in right now? You know, and then constantly people just walking around them all day. And I don't know what to do. Honestly, I don't know what to do.
You see, this is just growing up where I grew up. This is all normal to me. So you saying that, it's like, wow, I never really thought of it that way. Like, oh, wow, this is bizarre that there's this person just like homeless sitting here quiet. Because it's like, that was just normal. You walked around and it's like, oh, hey, how are you? Good to see you. And like, do you need anything today? So I guess for me, it's definitely a huge culture shock when I came here, and I was like, oh, wow. You know, and people think that's weird. He's just sitting on the sidewalk. Maybe that's how he enjoys his day. I've given cards out, my business cards out to, you know, a few of them, and I can't force somebody to do something they don't want to do. So all I can do is say, hey,
we're here.
Do you need some help? Come on in. If not, maybe I'll see you later and check in with you again. Sometimes it is about just kind of nudging, little nudges at a time, to where they feel safe talking to you, because they probably get a lot of people that aren't so nice saying things to them. So it's hard for them to even trust somebody and to go with somebody and be like, oh, this person's going to help me, or are they going to take advantage of me? So also it's kind of establishing that sort of relationship, like, I'm a safe person for you to talk to, and I can help you.
And then allowing them to know those resources in the community, because how would he even know about us or Central Wellness or anyone? You know what I mean?
I knew a very little bit about Centra.
Yeah.
And like I said, but I've known Karen for a long time, but she plays a lot of roles and a lot of things. She's a pretty remarkable lady. She does a lot of stuff. But like for the Friendship Society, I had no real working knowledge of what you guys do, and I was telling the story to Karen. I was looking for a place for my podcast, and I went over to the Briney building after like trying to find a place for a while, and then the person that kind of oversees that finally got a hold of me. That was a whole nother topic. What a pain in the ass. But anyway. I took a buddy over there, went in, and we were on the second floor, I think, and I'm like, this would be a great studio, but what in the hell is all that noise? And then I went upstairs, and I'm like, wow, this place is packed. Full of people. Full of people.
We see
and
about
it was like 1 o'clock
30 to 40 a day.
Yeah, not counting phone support as well.
Yeah. So it's a lot. We have free lunch every day, coffee all day long for people. So a lot of times people feel, a lot of people live alone, and they just want to get out of the house and go socialize with other people. So they come and they have coffee, and they, a lot of them share their recovery stories too. And it's really great to have people in there, and they're like, oh, I've got 35 years sober. And then we've got, a younger person who, is like just getting their 30 days in. And it's like, it's really great to have those two sit with each other and talk and figure out what works for them. I really like seeing that too. So yeah, we're packed every day. There's a lot.
Is there any kind of like rideshare program or anything? When we're talking about like to get the jobs,
we provide free dial-a-ride to and from our center, so that way transportation's not a barrier. And since we moved closer to town, a lot of people walk, so that's really good for our mental health too, getting out and moving.
Yeah.
So the free dial-a-ride daily is what we do.
Is there any help getting rides to jobs?
I believe Michigan Works has a program for that.
And dial-a-ride if it's during their hours as well. But most of the time they do walk until they're able to establish that transportation.
Yeah.
And I can see where like some communication would help with a potential employer too. Like, hey, I'm homeless.
Yeah.
I need this job, Can you give me a little leeway here if I'm a few minutes late or something like that?
And then once they get the job, then I've had issues where it's like, oh, well, you have to have this app on a phone to log in to your job or to track your hours or to get paid. And they're just like,
I don't have a phone.
I don't
Or a
have
bank
that.
account.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them don't have bank accounts, phones, nothing, and so it's working on getting them phones, and it's a struggle, but we get it done.
Yeah.
I hate the phones. I hate dealing with it.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a pain
It
in the
gets
ass,
so
for sure.
frustrating. But I've got everybody who's got a phone, and I label all their phones. Yeah.
What about, like, are you seeing any, like, you had made the comment that it's who I see, right? But I see a lot of people, and I know a lot of people, and a lot of times I'm like, I don't know this person. Like, they're not all from Manistee, right? So one of my questions has been lately, it's like, why here, why now? Does that make sense? Like, if you're not from here, but then you come here
Yeah,
and
no.
you don't have a home or any place like that, like, what is it that's bringing you here in the first place?
I think it just depends on their circumstances. Maybe they had family here at one time, or we had a couple that, was it last year, that got out of a rehab and then, or a psychiatric hospital, I can't remember. And I remember them saying, because they were homeless, well, here are places that have a homeless shelter. Pick where you want to go. And because I asked them, how did you find out about us?
Yeah.
Well, that's how this lady found out about us. She picked us off of a list, came to Manistee. They drove her to Manistee, dropped her off because we have a shelter in our community. And then they let her know about our organization to help. And then here we are with another face in our community.
Honestly, that's what I was thinking, is that people were being dropped off here because we have, these type of programs that reach out. So, I mean, it's a good and bad thing, because the more people you bring in, the harder it is to manage and try to help. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out ways that I can help, and then maybe say to somebody else, this is how you can help as well. I'm concerned about it. I'm more concerned for, like you said, it's not safe, right? Like, they don't feel safe, and
Right.
I get that. One morning, I went to a public restroom here, and there was a gentleman laying on the ground at 11 o'clock in the morning, snoring to beat the band.
Yeah.
And it's summer. It was not that long ago. So it's not like he was trying to get out of the elements. And the first thing I thought in my mind was, if I had my 8-year-old with me, you know what I mean? Like, number one, I don't necessarily want her to see that, but then the other thing too is like, not everybody's like me. Somebody could be a real jerk to that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a real jerk.
Yeah.
And I could see that being confrontational.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or you don't want to wake someone up in the middle of their sleep, right?
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean-
the happiest when someone wakes me up in the middle of my sleep.
I think if they're thinking, am I going to sleep under the bridge tonight? Or I say a bush because this gentleman really did sleep in a bush. I'm not even joking. We found him in a bush one time. I felt so horrible. Like,
Yeah, I've had to go out searching for people like, your appointment's right now. Where
Let's
are
go."
you? Like, I have to run around town trying to find them. Like, get out of the bush. It's time for your appointment. Let's go.
It's true. But so if they're thinking that and they're like, but there is this space that's covered, this bathroom where I can be safe for a little bit. And, they get comfortable and they're able to sleep because they haven't been able to sleep. I think, they're just trying to find a safe spot. And I know it's not ideal at all.
Yeah,
It can be
yeah.
very
Yeah,
scary.
right.
But in their mind, they're just trying to be safe in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're snoring to beat the band.
Yeah.
Dude was out.
Yeah. Yep.
When I owned Manistee Beverage Company, there was a guy that was sleeping actually behind the dumpster for a while.
Oh.
Yeah,
that
they
was
try.
wild.
A lot of them, like I said, they try to find places. They get tents, but you can't set up a tent anywhere that's free, unless you're somewhere out in the national forest. And then it's like, well, how am I going to get my essentials? How am I going to get to these resources that I so desperately need? So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it too. Is they're constantly trying to not get in trouble, constantly trying to keep their things from being taken from them because they steal from each other too. It's like, oh, he has socks. Thanks.
I need those.
Yeah. So I think that was a huge thing too. And some of the churches did help out and allowed them to kind of stay in certain areas. But yeah, basically trying to find them a place 24/7 would be wonderful, but it's just not
And if
here.
we had that, they would be able to focus on
Getting a job,
Yeah.
getting,
when we're really just trying to survive in that moment. We're not thinking about,
right. I wonder if he's
Yeah.
going to call me about that job when you're like, I'm exhausted and I haven't eaten in 3 days. I just want to lay down. Like, you're not worried about anything else.
Yeah, so I spend time thinking about this, and not to sound insensitive, but when I look at things like the housing market here, like, none of these people can afford rent anywhere.
No, nobody
I
can.
could be honest. If I didn't own my house, rent is higher than my mortgage ever was.
Yep.
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, are there communities where the cost of living is lower that we can encourage jobs and housing somewhere else?
Well, working with the NMC.
That sounds really shitty. Like, I don't want, like, let's get them on a bus and get them on here. That's not what I'm saying. If we kind of zoned out a little bit and said, all right, well, I don't know, Portage, Michigan has better cost of living than Manistee, Michigan. Would it be better to try to help them find work and housing in this community opposed to a tourist town where everything skyrocketed and it's Airbnbs everywhere? It's $1,000 a week to stay someplace. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think every community is struggling, so to kind of just fill their bucket even more full of people who need
Yeah.
support. But working with the NMCAA, I've noticed over the years, if they're able to work with like Cadillac, or it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head,
Yeah.
they're able to see if they have more availability and then move someone to their shelter area
Right.
to get housing if they have more availability in like apartments or whatever in their complexes that they work with.
Yeah.
So I know that they do reach out to other communities to see if, they have
Yeah,
any.
but it's like
support.
a statewide thing.
Yeah.
This housing crisis. It's
Yeah, it's nuts.
statewide. It's everywhere. Yeah, I don't know how people could afford rent. Being, it's like you're homeless, and then it's like, okay, but we want $5,000 for you to move in. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, sure, get right on that.
And then there's other programs. It's usually not $5,000, but it's a lot. Other programs to help with that.
Yeah.
If we could get them in, then there's programming in our community, not through us, but through the community that do help with that first and last month's rent if needed. If we can just get you in, you can get housing vouchers to help with.
Right.
On a big list, but housing vouchers to help with your rent to kind of subsidize that, and just utilizing all the resources around us and working together is just so important.
Yeah.
And I can see how that can be incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
You're trying to track somebody down who doesn't have a phone or
Yeah.
email or address.
Yeah. And that's why they feel safe. They're just like, okay, well, I will just go drop in the Friendship Society every day and see if I have any mail or anything. So, yeah.
Now, how do you see who runs these groups that you do at the
We do.
So
Cassandra
you guys
and
do
I.
all of that?
Yes.
Where am I at here? Like with the support groups and stuff like that. You run all those?
We do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then like during COVID, a lot of the support groups in the community, like AA, NA, they were no more. So it was like, we need something. So we got certified in SMART recovery, self-management, and recovery training. And that's for all sorts of addictions. So like when we see a need, if you come to us and you're like, hey, there's this need, Cassandra, that we could really use this, like the anger management or whatever, we will try our best to fulfill that and make something available for people to kind of just learn and get those tools that they need to support themselves.
So you guys are running those groups?
We
Yes.
do, yes. We do bring in others, so they don't just see us all the time. Like today, we have Naomi from MSU Extension coming in to do a Matter of Balance class. So we do bring in throughout the year outside support. Central Wellness comes in. There's Sarah Madsen came in and did trauma-informed training last year. So we do try to use those community outlets as well when we can, but we do.
And we do have classes that are open to the whole community that are free. We have like our mental health first aid, so people can come in and kind of see what they need to do if someone's having a mental health crisis. QPR as
which
well.
is a shorter version of that. Question, Persuade, Refer, which is a suicide prevention training as well. So if you came in contact with someone dealing with a mental health challenge, you'd kind of have, it can be scary. So getting those tools to kind of
know
help
what
you
to do and say
navigate
and-
that.
Yeah.
Can be really helpful. But I do want to say, before I forget that, all of our services are completely free of charge. We don't charge insurance, nothing. We're just free support for those in need in our community.
How are you two doing?
Doing okay. I just had a long vacation, so,
Yeah, we missed her.
I'm kind of like checking in with her this morning, like, are you okay? It's been a lot. But I
Honestly,
love it.
It's got to be incredibly, I'm sure it's rewarding, but it's got to be difficult.
I've had
on
to
yourself.
learn, like, throughout the years, boundaries, because at
Yes.
first, because I was there at one time, and that's how I came to the center, was I needed support too. So getting that, I had to put up boundaries that I can't do it all on my own. Like, I just can't. I was getting burnout. But throughout the years, I've really learned to set up those boundaries, those healthy boundaries, not take it home. It's really hard for me still,
Yes,
but
don't take it
I
home.
I know.
Is the biggest rule, I
Yeah,
think.
it's really hard.
Because it's hard to stop, and because it's like, they're still homeless, and I'm at home, and it's like,
and I have a fridge full of food right now.
Right, and
and
it's like you're just thinking about it, and you're like, oh yeah, and those, and a lot of times I do have them on like my Facebook Messenger and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like, if they needed like something in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, it's okay, and I'm like, Sabrina, you are not on the clock. Put it down. But it's hard because you want to
and you
be
build
there.
relationships.
Yeah,
with
you get
people.
close with
Yeah.
them, and it's like you want this for them. You're like, you need you to do better.
I think
So-
also like leaning on each other too. Like
Yeah.
even today, like having her here and stuff, like just being able to have that person you can really count on, and
Yeah.
yeah.
To me, I would just, I'd lose sleep. I'd lose a lot of sleep.
Usually when I get home, I tell my husband and my kids, like, don't talk to me for about 30 minutes because people have been talking to me all day, and I just need a minute. So kind of to clear my head and give me that moment, and then it's like, okay, now on to family stuff. So
Yeah.
My husband's really good at
Yeah.
Cass, you need to let it go.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath. You got this tomorrow, but tonight you just need to
let
just
it go.
be. Yeah.
You did all you could, is what mine always says. You did all you could for the day. It's like, okay, I know.
I mean, I guess to a certain extent, you give as much help as you can, and it just has to be taken.
Right. We
Yeah.
give them the tools and the support, and it's up to them to use those tools and support.
And sometimes they're not ready, and that's okay. But when they are ready, they know we're here, and we're here to support you. And right now, we have over 400 members in Manistee County. Well, a little bit in surrounding areas too, because Ludington doesn't have some of the support groups and classes that we have. So we were getting people from Ludington for our Smart Recovery. We even had a gentleman come from Traverse as well a couple times when he was in the area. But so yeah.
Now, out of that 400 members, what's the percentage that's unhoused?
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah.
There's not, I would say it's pretty low, honestly.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. A lot of them, we don't really see a lot because they are working, and, they can't come in because they work a 9 to 5. So we usually do peer support with them on the phone a lot of the times. But yeah, I wouldn't say we've actually got a lot of them housed lately,
Yeah.
I'm happy to say, actually.
That's
So
great.
it kind of
That's
seems
really
like it's
great.
going, because for
In a
a
good
while there,
direction.
it seemed like this is going nowhere. But over the last few months, it seems like it's really been kind of going through. And I think that has to do with us and we helped some of our members who live at Century Terrace, we helped them form their own tenants association because they were coming to us saying, we have all these problems and I don't know what to do. And so I'm like, well,
That's really rad.
listen,
Yeah.
we need you guys all to come together and start your own tenants association. And this was about 2 years ago now?
Maybe, yeah.
And that eventually led to them finding out about the embezzlement and all of that going on.
Yeah, that was wild.
So yeah, but if it wasn't for those tenants, that people would, a lot of these tenants, people dismiss them, think they're stupid, like, oh, they'll never know, they're dumb, oh no, they know what's going on, and they weren't afraid to voice it. And I said, I'm not either, let's go. And so it just takes that one person to say, like, I believe you. Because I feel like so many people, they were telling this to so many people and nobody would believe them. They're like, there's no way. And I was like, I believe you. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's do it. And so they still have that tenants association. And they have better board members now on the Housing Commission. So that's running a lot better. So I feel like that has a lot to do with why a lot of the housing opportunities are coming. So it's like really great work going on at the Housing Commission right now too. So.
How well do you guys work with the police departments? And I ask that question because you're very in tune to what you're doing at the Friendship Society, and I'm learning a lot now that I didn't realize you guys were so like involved in the recovery processes for these people, right? I think it's very difficult for a police officer to be a psychologist.
Yeah.
And I have seen on numerous occasions an interaction between somebody who is probably struggling with something internally and the police officer trying to kind of scurry them along, right?
Yeah.
But they do the best that they can. So I'm not disparaging them.
Right,
There's a
with
lot
the
of them are my
knowledge they
friends.
have, yeah.
But like, it's already an incredibly difficult job, right? So are they in contact with you guys if there's like somebody that they feel could use your intervention?
Not really.
Really?
But if we
No.
have
That's
any,
They have taken, a few of them have taken the mental health first aid. A few of the police officers have, which I thought was really great.
the sheriff's department.
yeah.
And then they had a 911 dispatcher take it once too, I remember.
Yeah.
But so like we offer these trainings and stuff, but I guess that would be something we could work on, is building our relationship with them.
Yeah. We've had a few times where we've had to call, like, we have someone here that we don't want here, and they're not leaving, so please come get
help
them.
us.
And so that, they do come, and, by the time they get there, the person's gone. So it's kind of just like if you tell them, like, I'm going to call the police, they're like, I'm out of here. So it's like, okay, bye. And they don't want to get in any trouble, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the first call is always to the police.
Right.
Yeah.
When somebody sees somebody out in the street that's like, I don't know, just being weird or whatever.
I would say to
Well,
those
actually-
people, call the crisis line.
Yeah.
Instead of calling the police, call the crisis line at Centra. They have people 24 hours a day that will come and help.
And it's right in our community.
And I had no knowledge of that.
Yeah.
So-
Central Wellness. So their 1877 number is like their intake number, but it's also their 24/7
Crisis
line, which is really helpful. And if they can't remember that, 988 is the national
new one, yeah.
And I think it'd be helpful for them to have our business cards too, honestly, just in case they could be like, this might be a good resource for you.
Yeah.
I think I'll drop some off. That's a good idea.
Just figure something out. Well, it's just because I see it, and I'm like, I don't know if like you're the right person this person needs to be talking to right now.
Right.
You know what
Because,
I mean?
yeah,
If they're not breaking any laws.
sometimes it is where it's like, I don't know, I want to really check on my friend. They're not answering. I don't know what to do. And, it's like, I don't want to call the police for a wellness check because they're going to flip out, maybe because they're already having delusions about police, or they've had trouble with them before. So it's really kind of finding that person that can kind of go over there, and I usually just call the crisis line and like, hey, what do we do here? We've had someone before where we said, hey, if we call you tomorrow, I need you to answer the phone, and if you don't answer the phone, I'm gonna have to do a wellness check and send the police over. And of course this person was like, don't do that, I'll answer the phone. He didn't answer the phone. So it's kind of like, well, you didn't live up to your end of the deal here. So the next step was like, I needed to check on you to make sure you were okay.
Yeah.
And so the police did go and do a wellness check, and he was okay. So sometimes you have to.
Is there much interaction with families? Meaning, like, if I'm somebody with mental illness and I'm frequenting the center, but I just am a little lost in
you could
translation
qualify.
here. But what I mean is there communication with this
If they
particular
want
person's
it.
family?
If they want
If they want it, yes. Yes.
And we also have our Smart Recovery Family and Friends. So that is like our Al-Anon. So that's
for any addiction.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was cutting you off.
No.
Okay. Smart Family and Friends.
I want to talk about all this stuff because, like we've already said a few times, nobody talks about it. Like, there's this huge stigma over mental illness, and nobody. We could talk about all kinds of shit, but like you start talking about mental illness, people just like it. They get all like it's. Like,
It can be
it's
scary.
like an attack.
Yeah,
You
they
know
don't
what I mean?
know.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have that understanding towards people. And if you never have dealt with it or didn't think you've ever dealt with it, it's hard.
And I think
And we
most
get
people
that.
just think if you've got a mental illness, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do something.
And you'll
wild,
always
so I
be
gotta stay away from
crazy,
you.
and you'll never be able to do anything else but just be crazy. And
It's frustrating.
yeah, when
Yeah.
it's like some of the most successful people have, bipolar, and it's their mania that is like skyrocketing them to success, and people are like cheering them on, but you're also kind of like, no one's seeing this, they're like a little bit, they're going too high there for a minute, maybe reel it in a little. But yeah, it affects everybody at any point in your life, I think.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys have worries, or do you ever run into issues with drugs and alcohol at the center?
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
We have a whole list of rules because we are a recovery center. A lot of our members have dealt with trauma in their life, so we need it to be as peaceful and supportive as we can. And a huge one is no alcohol or drugs in or on you. What you do outside of the center is up to you, just like our Smart Recovery. You could even be contemplating about quitting. So if you even have that thought, just come and, check it out. It's all about lifestyle changes and triggers and just overcoming those things and building supports. But that is a huge thing. That is a huge thing. Drugs are a huge problem in our community right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
So you guys are kind of dialed into that.
Yeah,
So
we
Yeah.
see them every day.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
can you
that-
speak to that a little bit? I mean, like we have the harm stuff, which all
Harm
also-
reduction. Or no, I was thinking
Yeah.
you said harm and reminded me of harm
Reduction,
reduction.
I got a really good friend who's in the state police drug division, and he told me that he doesn't think that these harms things out here are good because they're not good. They are good for what they are used for, but he's saying because they're out in the elements that
Oh.
They're not any good anymore.
right,
Yeah.
too hot or too
Too
cold.
cold. Yeah, you have to have that. That's a good point.
Yeah,
You'd have to have that temperature controlled, I imagine.
wouldn't want to help somebody with nothing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Didn't think about
Yeah,
that.
it's no longer a needle. You just spray it up the
Oh
nose.
yeah, see, like I don't even
Yeah.
know. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't even know. Like
We've had a harm reduction class. They've come and could teach everybody how to do that. If you have,
There's a
if you see
community
someone
event, yeah.
overdosing, and we passed it out for everyone to have too. So yeah, it's,
We have it available at our center too.
yeah, it's just a spray up the nose now. You don't have
Thank
to
goodness, right?
Even, yeah, you don't
so
even
how
have this problem.
prevalent is the drug problem in Manistee? In your opinion?
I feel like it's a big problem in
It's
our
huge.
community right now. Like, it's so sad, and it's very frustrating sometimes because we really try. Oh, we try so hard to have resources and be available. And Sabrina is so good at getting people into detox and rehab. Like, sometimes there's so many strings and it's so hard, but she is like a mad woman at it, and I'm so thankful for that. But
the process to get into detox or rehab center is so strenuous and so ridiculous that I don't even want to sit through the phone call and answer the thousands of questions they're going to ask. How is this person here who's fiending for their next fix, but they're sitting here trying to answer these 100 questions about their life
Over
then
and over.
over and over again,
Yeah.
the same questions over and over, over and over, and it's eventually, they get mad and they start screaming into the phone, and I don't blame them because I'm getting frustrated too. I'm like, just say yes and let them come. But
so we sit with them
so
through
it's
those conversations
sitting
to
there
help
with them,
support them.
it's okay, don't yell, it's okay. After we hang up the phone, we can yell into the wall, but right now we just gotta answer those dumb questions, okay? So that's really frustrating too, is the intake process. So it's if I wasn't there, they probably would just hang up the phone and be
Yeah.
oh, forget it.
Yeah,
That's
for
gonna
real.
I don't have time for that. I need it now. I need it today. I want it now. And it's if you don't get them in that moment, it's you're not going to have that moment again for a long time, and then they're going to be like, I need it, and it's like, okay, let's try again. So it's frustrating getting them in places and dealing with insurance and getting a ride there, and what do they do when they leave, when their time's up? How are they going to get back, and how are they going to pay their rent while they're gone? How are they going to pay their bills while they're gone? What do they do with their kids? Single mom, what is she going to do with her kid while she's gone at rehab?
With no family support in the community, that was a hard one.
That's a huge thing. A huge thing. A lot of them are single parents.
Yeah.
And what are they going to do with their children while they're getting the help that they so desperately need? That's so far away. Now I've found out there are a few centers now, rehab centers that allow children to go be with their moms or their dads. So we've had a member do that before, which they really loved it, and I know that her kid really loved it too. Like, he got to go to his own little daycare every day while she was doing her thing, and they were able to be together at night and share a room together. So I think that we definitely need more places like that where they support the whole family and not just
the
individual person, because it really does take the whole family.
No, it takes a community.
Yeah, it takes a lot of people, because it's like, well, now I'm sober, and now what am I going to do with childcare, which is another huge thing in Manistee
It's a
that
mess here.
is so
Yeah.
desperately needed.
Been pounding that pavement for a while too.
Yeah, and so that's another thing, is trying to find daycare so that, when they do come back and they're ready to get on with their life, it's like, okay, but now I have a kid, and I can't go to work and leave him home, so what am I going to do? And so that kind of, I think, cycles them back into that, giving up, and it's like, no, keep
This
trying.
country's got it all wrong. I mean,
Keep
we
trying.
keep sending money to places that we don't need to be sending money to. I won't get into it because that's just a soapbox. But we could take that money and invest it back into our people here in the United States. I look at frivolous spending all the time and say that money could be better served on the human that's living under a bush.
Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of people don't care or put their blinders on to the humans under the bushes, and so it's like, no, my town is perfect. It's no.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any town is perfect, but yeah, it's definitely, it's grown a lot.
Yeah.
Over
Just
the
since I've
years.
moved here, I've seen it grow like huge. I remember when I first moved here, I was like, are we sure? Because downtown was like empty, I was like, is any of these stores open? But now, obviously, it's, it's growing so much, and I love it here, so.
Yeah, people are just getting pushed a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like you had said at the beginning of the podcast that, when I said there was like one homeless person, I mean, obviously that came from a place of ignorance on my end, and you said it's the one that you saw, and I get that. But
Right.
literally, in all my time in this community, which has been my entire life, seeing more today than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And I know that mental illness plays a big factor in a lot of the things that, we as a community or Michigan or the United States is seeing. There's a reason for that uptick.
I think especially since COVID too, there was
COVID
like a
was
lot of loss.
a huge factor. in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and our membership has grown tremendously since COVID. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah. I
can
so
imagine.
thankful that people are not afraid. I know there's still some, but not afraid to reach out for help. It might be hard, but we've been seeing more and more. And I'm very thankful for that we can be a support. Even if it's just for a short time. I always feel so bad, or in my heart, I'm like, oh, I'm going to miss you, but
Yeah.
you're doing so good. You got that job, you got your home, not going to really be seeing them anymore, really, unless
Yeah.
the time comes around and they need support again. Or sometimes those people turn into volunteers
I was just
or
gonna
board
say.
of directors or,
Yeah.
so that's good to see that too.
Yeah.
But-
I think it really is just taking the time to let somebody know that they're worth it,
Yeah.
and that you don't deserve to sleep
They
in
matter.
the bush. And
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, wow, really? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, are you sure? Yeah, come in. So I think that's a huge thing, because a lot of them just probably feel like they're not even worth it at
And
that
they're
point.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Walking side by side with someone through it can make all the difference.
Yeah.
We don't do it for them. We do it with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Peer
I had
support.
a mentor of mine tell me once that I don't necessarily give people a handout, but I'll give them a hand up.
Yeah.
And I think that means a little bit more than the latter.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah. We could go round and round on this podcast and talk about the same things over and over again. But I've got some ideas I think we can share together soon to try to help with some of this stuff, because I think people need to talk about it more. I think we need to talk about it more in this community. I think that if we could kind of bridge, bring some
We do
closure to
like
some
some
things.
community events, like the Chalk the Walk we just had in May, to support Mental Health Month. And so, that was for anyone in the community. We wanted everybody to go out on their sidewalks or their driveways and just put positive messages out there for their mental health.
And that was a collaboration with the Suicide Prevention and Awareness Coalition. I'm a co-chair on there. I don't want to give us all the credit for that. 'Cause
Right.
they- our partners were a big part of that too.
Yes, and they also do the suicide prevention event in September.
Yep, every September.
Every September, they have that down at the beach, and we usually try to get the community a lot downtown to hang up posters. We have people in the community make posters about suicide prevention and awareness, and we like
A lot
to
of
have
youth
them
get involved with that.
Yeah, a lot of the younger kids have been really into it too. And then we'd have, for the whole month of September, have the businesses downtown have our posters up in their windows, so that when you're driving downtown, you can see all of these suicide prevention signs, and hopefully give that hope to, maybe somebody needed to see that day, Now I think we just do ribbons down.
Yeah.
The suicide prevention ribbons. But
I think
yeah.
it's really important, like the Chalk the Walk, we didn't get a ton of community members who participated this year, so I was a little sad, but the Onekama Consolidated Schools and the Manistee schools, they got their youth to participate, so they posted wonderful photos of them just spreading hope in the community, so I think it's really important to get our youth talking about it as well. And like once, maybe twice a year, we go to the Armory and we teach a class there on, our mental health and teaching them the skills and tools to kind of overcome things when they start to boil up. So I also think, I know we do 18 and older, but I think it's really important that we
if we could get down to like the smaller kids
Yes.
too, a lot
Yes.
of them need some of that help as well. I mean, yeah, suicide is on the rise. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think that's a shock to anybody. Today, you can see it everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can't put my finger on why. I think some of it's this shit on the phone, and COVID played a big factor in separating people from things, or keeping like some of those dangerous things that were happening to our younger people. They were stuck inside when they should have been at school or outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always feel like everything that we do at the center is suicide prevention. Like everything we do is suicide prevention.
I mean, I would agree with that 100%.
So, just making sure everybody has those things that they need, or if they just need to drop in and be like, Sabrina, I really need to talk to you. Or like, I have so many people just come in, Sabrina, I really messed up. And it's like, it's okay, come on in, it's okay to mess up. We all mess up. But it's how are we going to fix it, and what are we going to do different now?
Well, it's even like the food thing. Like our main focus is not food.
Sure.
At all. But in 2020, like Feeding America contacted me and they're like, hey, do you want to partner with us? And it was like right before it was March of 2020, and then the pandemic hit fully after that. But having those basic needs, so we've been working with them each month to provide these food banks once a month for the community, because food can impact our mental health so much. Having poor nutrition can affect our mental health. Not knowing where your next meal is going to come from can affect our mental health. And then also having that on-site food pantry. So those basic needs, they might be just little, but they are huge for our mental health as well. Mm-hmm. So we really try to focus on just those normal day-to-day things that people need to help support them.
Yeah, that basic needs stuff is, I can't even imagine what it must be like. I mean, I think you two are a couple of gangsters for sure. Learning what you've just told me today Does anybody else work there? I mean, we're on the payroll besides you two?
We just hired, was it last week?
Last week was her first week, and I wasn't even there.
Yeah, we just hired last Monday a new recovery coach, so she will be working under us.
Unbelievable.
So I'm really
But
excited.
yeah, it was just Cassandra for a while. Then
Yeah,
I know, and I looked at her every day. I said, "How did you do this all by yourself? You."
Central Wellness has been a huge support for us, though. Like,
Yeah.
I know we're just a contract worker from them, but they're definitely in it with me and in it with us, you
Yeah.
know, the center as a whole. So they've been very supportive over the years.
Amazing. I mean, I can't imagine that you're doing this on your own. Really. I mean, you have volunteers.
Well,
Yeah or no? It says something on here about volunteers. You don't have volunteers?
well,
Sometimes.
sometimes
Oh, shit.
yeah. We do have
Speak
a
to
board
that a
of
little bit.
we do have a board
This
of
is wild.
directors, and they are so great too. But the majority of our volunteers help us with that Feeding America Mobile Food Bank each month, because that is like 15,000 pounds of food that we have to distribute, pack up. It's a huge event, but we're pretty blessed. So when I get people that call that want to do something, I let them know, if you want to come teach a class or this or that, you know, then you're more than welcome to. But right now, like, we got it, you know, like we do have, we did have AARP workers too. So they are like volunteers that come in 55 and older. So the AARP pays them, and then they learn the job skills. So they are helpful in doing some of those little things throughout the day. But yeah, we're pretty blessed at our center.
Yeah.
We got a groove now. We got a
just-
good groove.
We're like, I don't know.
Not to
We're
diminish your
so-
efforts, but it seems like there's so much going on and so
There
many
is.
people utilizing your.
But like how we surround the whole person, right? How that's how we can lift someone up and help them in their recovery. Like, before I became full director in 2015, like, we didn't have a support system around us. It was just Central Wellness and then Justice and Mental Health out of Lansing. Like, that was it. So then reaching out to other community partners and making our presence, that's what helps us as well, because we help the whole person, but our center needs to be surrounded with support as well. So getting that community member support, community organizations, and just building those relationships has really helped us grow as well. And it's really important, if that made sense.
It makes a lot of sense. but-
Okay.
Yeah, it's really great because we're able to work with like a person's case manager or their other peer support or their, whoever else they're working with. It's really important that we work with them too, because it's like, well, this person says that my goal is this, and this person says my goal is this, and I'm going to do this. And it's like, hold on, let's look at your plan again, that you've had in place with your case manager, and let me see how I can get you to support you to that, and trying to keep them on track with that, because I know that center is overloaded too, and so it's like being able to connect and communicate with them is very important. It helps keep everybody together, I think.
Or if they were like working with Echo His Love through Safe Harbor, and they're working with Michigan Works, and they're working with us, and they're working with, say, they're getting commodities from 5CAP, and, just working together can make all the difference, because there might be a need that I can't fulfill, but they can.
Sure.
So we can just build them up as best as we can, as fast as we can, and just support the whole person.
Yeah.
What do you think is your biggest obstacle? In terms of just getting somebody the help that they need, back on their feet, working, being productive, not having to worry about them coming back.
I couldn't pinpoint one thing, because we help people with so many different obstacles. So I guess it's just me finding the support if I can't help them with something. Even, you know what I mean? Being able
Sure.
to reach out to the community to help them with that support, however that may look.
Right.
It's hard to pinpoint one thing, because there's so many obstacles and barriers people like go through.
And then we also
every
have
day.
to advocate for people. A lot of times they say, like, I need to be in the hospital. I need in-hospitalization treatment. And so, they will go to the hospital, and the hospital will say,
Nope.
you're good to go.
What hospital?
Send you right back home.
don't have
And
a
so,
hospital here, do we?
they come back and they're like, Sabrina, they said I was fine. They just sent me home. And so, it's like, all right, well, I'm calling the hospital now. And it's like, you really got to advocate for them. And some of them I get so proud because they'll say to me, they'll call me and they're like, I'm in the hospital. I'm like, you did it, you know? And they're like, I advocated for myself. I told them that I need it and I wasn't leaving until they took me here. And I said, good for you, because a lot of times they will just say like, the hospital said I was okay, so I guess I'm okay. And it's like, no, you're not. Please, let's get you in there where you need to be. So I think that's a huge thing too, is like getting people enough confidence in themselves to say, this is what I need, and I need it, and I'm not leaving until I get what I need.
The help that I need.
Yeah, it's huge to be able to do that for yourself. And, you know, so we oftentimes do step in on those situations and with their caseworkers and all of that, and it's, you know, a team effort to help them get where they need to be.
Yeah.
What can I do to help? If I was just somebody that just came to the Friendship Society and said, hey, I want to help some way. I don't know how I can help, but how can I help?
In my mind, it would be utilizing your space to just spread that awareness. And your space, even like downtown. So if you do see someone that, you know, you can be like, hey, here's a resource for you, just so you know, free lunch, or I don't even know, draw them in with food. But
right.
I guess just utilizing your space to spread awareness would be really important and helpful. Because if you don't know the resources in the community, how are we going to help them?
Right.
Even if, so you're like, I don't know if they qualify, so I'm afraid. Who cares?
Give
Come
it to 'em
in.
anyways.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
We're not like, hey, you got to go. You know, we just send them.
Yeah.
And
our qualifications are you have to have a mental illness, but you don't have to bring in like a doctor's note that says like, oh, I've got this.
You just
you
come
know,
in
you
and
come
say,
in.
I'm 18. I'm struggling right now. Let me help you.
So
Yeah.
that's good what you just said there. You have to have a mental illness.
You had to have struggled in the past or present with depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, PTSD.
Does it have to be documented?
No.
You don't have to show me anything.
Okay.
If you're
That's
struggling, we're here to help you any way that
Right.
we can.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be that support in our community because we've been through it, and we want to make sure people have a support system around them, because I didn't until I came here. So
Right.
yeah.
So you have cards or something that we can give out, that community members can give out
Yes.
to people? I'd like a stack of those.
Okay.
For sure.
For sure.
We'll have to drop them off.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And I can give them to other
I
people
almost
too.
brought some.
Or you could come up for a tour sometime if you wanted.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about like seeing if there's any anybody up there that would want to sit down and tell their story too.
Jason,
Oh boy.
maybe. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Jason Baker.
Yeah.
I thought about just asking a few times, but I wouldn't want people to think that I'm taking advantage of somebody. You know what I mean? But I'm genuinely curious as to like
That's
what their experiences are.
That's a
you
huge
know?
part at our center too, is
Telling
telling
our
your
story.
story, sharing your story. We actually have classes on on writing your story and
Yeah.
speaking about it, and how that's so important in your recovery is to go and tell others your story of
So then you
how
can
you
help
got
them.
through it.
Yeah.
Right, because then they'd be like, oh, you did that? A lot of times when I'm in groups and stuff, I'll say things that, you know, about my past, and they'll look at me and they're like, really, Sabrina, you? And it's like, wow, I've really come a long way for them to be like shocked by that, you know? Like, wow, okay, good. So I always like seeing that too. I'm like, I've come a long way.
Yeah.
Hey, I think this was really good. I think we got a lot of good information out there, and I'm excited to come up and take a tour sometime,
Yes.
get
Yes.
some cards that I can pass out, and yeah, and if there's anybody interested in sitting down and maybe telling their story, we can get them on, him or her.
Oh, yeah.
I think they'll like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be enlightening. This has been great. I mean, just what I've learned over the last couple of interviews has been pretty amazing. So I'm going to see what I can do to help. How about that?
Thank
Awesome.
you.
We love it.